How's it going, everybody? This is David Cloninger with the Charleston Post and Courier, welcoming you to another edition of Countdown to Kickoff. We appreciate you guys coming by, and we also appreciate all the subscribers to the Gamecocks Now newsletter, which is available with your Post and Courier subscription. And as always, we have a free 2-week free trial. As my guest today, as we wrap up Tennessee and preview Vanderbilt, is one of South Carolina's all-time greatest receivers from the upstate of South Carolina, Mr. Jermale Kelly. Jermale, how you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem, man. Thanks for joining. Well, let's get right into it, man. I know you're still a passionate Carolina guy. You were watching the Tennessee game last week. What was your thought, first of all, of the game, and your thoughts, second of all, when you saw the infamous play down on the goal line there?
Anytime I watch our Gamecocks, it's always a pleasure to tune in to see what you're gonna get. But anytime we lose, it just ruins my whole day. And the way we lost, it was definitely bad. But just seeing the infamous play, I was speechless. I'm gonna just be honest with you. I was speechless just to see it happen. But we got a long way to go. We will get there, but we still have a long way to go.
That's the thing, Jermale. I mean, a lot of people, of course, were harping on it. I was harping on it, but it's a case like, something, it happened, it's over with now, and there are bigger issues besides that play. I thought the defense played pretty well after that disastrous first quarter. I thought the offense kind of settled in and was, again, like they did against Troy, trying to find some new ways to move the ball. Offensively, Jermale, what did you think of how South Carolina played, after they got down 28-0, and what do you think they can improve on?
Well, honestly, me personally, and it's just my opinion, I personally think it's the offensive play calls. It just sometimes don't fit our offense, and I as being a high school coach, I also coach here in the upstate, and just seeing some of the offensive play calling. It kind of bothers you sometimes, and I can understand we're trying to establish a run game, but at some point, it's hard for me to even say sometimes, because I don't want to discredit the offense coordinator, because I know how these jobs can be sometimes, but it's just that we got to regroup and see which direction, as far as an offense, which way you want to go. Do you want to establish the run, or do you want to spread it out, or do you want to be 50-50? But we got to establish some kind of base offense to what and for our kids to be excited about too as well. Yeah. But I believe in the staff down there, and I feel like we have a good staff right now. And if it's just got to be. We got to be together right now and understand what we're going to do, because it's sometimes it's all over the place. And, but, I don't want to discredit the coaching staff, because they're doing a great job. The kids starting to believe, and that's the direction we want to be headed into.
That's the thing, Jermaine. I look at it, and you hear the terms in offense like rhythm and flow and feel, and it just seems like South Carolina hasn't been able to find a lot of that on offense this year. I mean, we thought coming into the year that the running game would be a strength. They've had some injuries there from the offseason. Luke Doty's had a banged-up foot, but the offensive line has not played well. Just you're an offensive guy. You've coached offense in high school. How tough is it to try to get that rhythm and then, more importantly, stay in it throughout the course of a game or a season?
Offense, and it is so funny that you say that, because that's the same situation we're having at our high school right now. The defense is playing well, but the offense is just trying to find that rhythm or our identity to lead up to these games to be successful. And as an offensive guy, and just playing on the offense, it takes more than a lot of repetitions to get that going. It's a lot that comes with the offensive side, because You have so many different fronts. You have a 3-man front, you have 4-man fronts, you have different coverages. So it's so many ways that you can run these offenses, but just trying to establish your base offense and feel comfortable with running it, it takes time. It really does. And I mean that, you're supposed to start this in the springtime and it carry on to the fall time. But right now, just like, I just don't feel like we have our identity right now of what we want to do on offense.
Jermale, back when you played, it was unfortunate that you guys went through some long stretches without a win. Just how tough is it to not only keep yourself and your teammates up, but your fan base up? Because especially with South Carolina, after they've had some success, now it kind of seems like everybody's just kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. They're waiting for something bad to happen. How hard is it to get the fan base and your teammates out of that rut when things haven't been going well for a little while?
Well, I can just say for our fan base, it's always been outstanding. Even though when we went 1-12 or 1-11 and 0-11, I mean, the fan base was always still there, and they're just a great group of people. I mean, the fan base, and I can't say less than that. But you're going to have people talking. It's easy to coach from the stands. Anybody can coach from the stands. But when you're out there and you're in the trenches, it's a different outcome. But, I love our fan base. It will continue to keep growing because of the state of South Carolina. I deal with a lot of the Clemson people up here because of the upstate. And here recently, I hadn't been hearing a lot of them, and we all know the reason why. But I just rather leave that alone. But we will. Beamer has them in the right direction, and our fan base will always be there. But just to hear over 80,000 people just screaming and hollering, and even with the Vanderbilt game this week, I feel like we'll come out victorious because we're at home, our fan base, and it will definitely energize our players to compete.
That's a perfect segue into it, Jermale. Playing Vanderbilt at home this week. It's homecoming. It's a mid-afternoon game, but not a noon kickoff. The sun will be shining. Vanderbilt, frankly, not a very good team. And I'm telling you, for everybody who's tuning in, South Carolina ought to win this game, and it ought to win this game comfortably. So, Jermale, I don't know how much you've watched of Vanderbilt at all, but just talking specifically about South Carolina, what do they got to do early to go ahead and get this game over with and put it in the bag and make everybody comfortable?
We have to just strike first, and that's the main thing. And it's always been like that. We strike first, score, defense get involved, get our fan base involved. Even the offense start having fun, and just establishing the run game, or whatever direction they want to go. We have to strike first and put that stamp on it. And as the game go on, as you're winning, you continue to have fun. But when you're trying to catch up from behind, you get the fingers pointing, and it's a bad thing. But again, we're at home, and I just feel like our fan base will energize our players to come out victorious.
I mean, looking at it, there's been some things that have been working lately offensively, Jermale. The fullback, getting him in there to kind of help free the running game some, using a lot of receiver end arounds and reverses. That's something I'm sure that makes you smile. Just what are some more of those tweaks and wrinkles that Marcus Satterfield can put in to help this offense out?
Just completing the short stuff, letting our athletes be athletes. Not, and that comes along with the quarterback and his thinking. We don't have to go for the big touchdown thing here. It's just, march it down the field. Complete your passes, your short game. Win on third down conversions. And that's just something you have to do throughout the whole game. And if you do that, you'll definitely be successful.
I've always wanted to ask any player this, Jermale, but they're playing Vanderbilt this week while the SC State Fair is going on. When you were playing and you had a fair week, how did you guys treat that? Did any of y'all ever go out after the game right across the street and grab yourself a corn dog or something?
I can honestly say I went to the fair my freshman year, and but I was redshirted, so of course we enjoyed it. But after that, after the games, it was, you were so banged up after the games, you didn't. A lot of times you didn't have time to go because you was ready to go home or be with like my roommates, John Abraham, Boo Williams, and Donovan Norman. We was ready to get back to our room to, either celebrate, or, which in our case, it wasn't too much celebrating. We was wanting to hide our face. But um but our senior year, it was differently, but other than that, we didn't do too much of the fair because of the seasons we had. We we basically didn't want to show our face.
Yeah. And obviously, if you guys didn't know, Jermale Kelly is one of his roommates, John Abraham, got inducted in the USC Athletic Hall of Fame last
Yes.
night. Really good to see Big Bad John back in Columbia. And yes, he is still as large as you. He was talking on the defensive line here at USC. But Jermale, getting back to the Vanderbilt game, South Carolina's defense has actually been playing pretty well this season. They didn't have a great first quarter against Tennessee, kind of regrouped after that. What have you seen from a coach's chair that has allowed South Carolina to be this strong defensively early or midway through the year?
Well, again, the defense, like you just mentioned, they have been playing well, and the defense win games. So with that being said, they've come out and definitely done a good job. It's just now keeping them off the field to rest them. We can't, as an offense, we can't go in and go 3 out and put them back on the field every play. Again, we have to continue to get first downs and march our way down the field to keep the defense off. But with that being said, defense has been playing really well with the interceptions. They forcing third downs, punts. It's a lot of good stuff they're doing, and I can only see them growing to get better. Defense is really not what's hurting us. It's our offensive side of it right now.
Yeah, that's one thing. It's a statistic I looked up this week, Jermale. Since the Eastern Illinois game, so 5 games since, South Carolina scored 7 offensive touchdowns. 7. They've got 12 all year. The defense has scored 3 touchdowns. So
exactly.
We all know what it is. I mean, it's just got to get better. I wish there was a solution I could say other than play better. That's just kind of where South Carolina is right now. Looking at the overall record, Jermale, the Gamecocks are 3-3. And I think that most people probably would have taken that at this point of the season, just looking at how the early schedule is. How do you think the rest of the schedule sets up? You got Vanderbilt, and then you got 5 pretty tough games, but those games have had the ability to change in terms of, well, I think USC could win one of those. How do you see the rest of the season shaking out?
At this point, you have to go, game by game, and honestly, I feel like we can win. They have to believe they can win. You can't have that loser's limp going into a game, not thinking you or believing that you can win. And if you start thinking like that, of course you won't win. But they just got to believe, and I feel like we definitely, and that's my honest opinion, that I really think we can compete with these other teams. They just got to be that one unit that believe that they can go out there and be victorious and just compete. It's all about the competing and beating the man that's in front of you. But again, and I'm pretty sure Beamer will have them to where they can believe, because I mean he's really energetic himself, and just meeting him and being around them and the other coaching staff, it makes one. It make me want to come out of retirement sometimes, but I know I couldn't take a hit right now. I could probably run routes and stuff, but and catch the ball. But as far as taking a hit, I don't think I can do that right now. But I think we'll be okay. I really do. I really do.
But you bring up an interesting point, Jermale. South Carolina's receivers were kind of a question mark going into this year. As it's progressed through the season, Josh Vann has shown himself off to be pretty good.
Yes.
Jalen Brooks seems to be coming on a little bit better. And E.J. Jenkins did very well during the Troy game. Maybe he wasn't used as much in the Tennessee game. But overall, there's been 2 things, Jermale. One is that they seem to be sending the same group of receivers out there, for better or for worse. And second, no matter who it is, there's been a lot of cases of drops. So the first question is, what do you think about that starting group of receivers right now? Josh Vann, DeCarrion Joyner, and Jalen Brooks.
With that, I'm not saying they're these outstanding playmakers, but you do have some playmaker ability in that. And as far as the drop balls, that's just a lack of concentration, but we all drop balls. I even though I can recall back to my junior year, and it still haunt me, where we went 0-11, and I want to say it was Vanderbilt we were playing. We were playing somebody that we were supposed to win. It was
Vanderbilt game.
Yes,
11-10, I believe.
Pass. Yes, fourth. Oh, and I still think about that to this day. And it happens, but it's how you gonna react to it, and make up for it. And again, we have some good receivers. A lot of people say we don't have any playmakers, and I've heard that from several people. But sometimes I don't feel like we've had the opportunity to make those type of plays. But we have, like you said, we have had some where they've dropped balls, and that comes with the game. But you have to be consistent on catching the ball. And if we can't be consistent on catching the ball, we need to find some more receivers that we have in the lineup here to try to just give them a chance to see. And more than likely, you'll be surprised. Some of them that's sitting on the bench are the ones that you really need to be going to.
In terms of drills and building that concentration on catching the ball, Jermale, what's the most important thing to trying to get past that? Is it more of a mental thing, or just you got to go out there and practice more on your own so that you don't drop a future pass?
It's more of a mental thing. It's more of a mental thing. And the only reason why I say that is because they were good enough to get to that level, to the college level, collegiate level, a D1 school. So it was something that a coach saw in that athlete to make him come to the University of South Carolina. So my thing is it's all mentally. And it's just, focusing and focusing on, it's eye and hand coordination. And that's just something you have to have. Even I tell my receivers now, a lot of them say, well, coach, he threw it too high, he threw it too low. And my philosophy is, if you get two hands on the ball, it's your job to come down with the ball. Every ball is not going to be perfect. And that's just something, that was something that was drilled in my head. And I've always had that philosophy. So yeah, it's mental. It's more mental.
Getting to your career at Carolina, Jermale, something I've always wanted to ask you. Eric down here, he had a podcast called The Fade. Produced a mini documentary about the fade. You're the guy that caught the pass. When are you going to start benefiting on some of this stuff,
And it's so funny. We talk about that all the time. And it's so funny. Me and Eric Kimmery talked about this. And, I'm that humble type person. I don't like all that attention. I'm just not that attention person. But he, he still to this day, say that I made him who he was. And I was like, well, if the tables were turned, I feel like you made me who I am today. Because you threw the pass to me. You trusted me to throw the ball to. So of course, it's just a teammate thing, and it's something that I celebrated with him. I said, but the thing was, if he didn't call that route, it probably wouldn't have came to me. But he and for people out there that don't know, he really called that route, and he threw it. He really did.
And obviously, to the audience, if you guys don't know, the fade, one of the most famous passes in USC history, Gamecocks against Mississippi State in 2000. Phil Petty goes down with a sprained ankle. Eric Kimmery, who had not played much, if at all, his career, for one play on fourth down, takes one step and throws it down the sideline. And this guy I'm talking to right here jumps up over the defensive back, catches it, and rolls right into the end zone. Jermale, I've got a picture of that somewhere where the D-back never left his feet. I think he was looking straight across while you're above his head. What do you remember about the coverage on that play?
Well, I knew it was going to be a man coverage, or they was going to drop him in cover 3, but I knew for sure it was going to be man, the way they was playing. It was fourth down. He felt like he was trying to he was trying not to let me go inside. For some reason, I don't know why he thought we was running a slant route, but he was playing me inside coverage, and I got the outside release on him. And actually, we were always taught to throw your hands out at the last minute. And that's honestly what I done. At the last minute, I put my arms out. He never knew the ball was in the air. And it was just, me just being calm, running down the sideline, and the ball was in the air. I never stuck my arms out to the last minute. And believe it or not, it actually didn't hit me in my hands. It hit me on my forearm, and it rolled to my hand,
Wow.
which was the craziest thing. But yeah, it happened, and I'm glad it happened, and it that was something that it's memorable, and it's gonna stick with me for the rest of my life, I guess, because everybody brings that up.
Hey, man, I mean, it's got to be better than another player, right? I mean, nobody wants to remember about a loss, right? So,
Oh no, not at all.
how many times
Not
do
at all.
the kids you coach these days? Do you show it to them? Do they ask you about it? I mean, have they seen it on YouTube or anything?
It's funny. I don't talk about a lot of my football career. It'd be other coaches that bring it up. Just like recently, someone was talking about my freshman year there. Catching 10 touchdowns my freshman year. That was something else brought up by another coach, and I just, I try to let them shine. Like I say, I'm that humble person that don't like that much attention, and try to just let everybody else around me grab that attention.
Jermale, let me read some numbers to you. So first of all, you redshirted 96, played from 97 to 2000.
Mm-hmm.
8th on the career catches chart. Finished 9th on the career yardage chart. Finished 4th, tied for 4th on the career touchdowns chart. That to me is one of the greatest receivers in South Carolina history. Yet when I ask other folks, hey, who's the best receiver you ever saw? They're saying Sidney and Kenny and Alshon, Sterling. I mean, those guys deserve it too, but I think you deserve it as well. Do you feel always are a little overlooked about your career at South Carolina and your place among the greats?
Well, I appreciate you saying that, but I don't. Those guys were great, they were great. And they played in the league and so far on, and I wish them the best of luck in everything they do, because we're all family. We all from the same family. So, but I hear that all the time. It's another podcast I was up on here in the upstate, and that was something they mentioned, and they had this long list, of course, all the guys you just named, and of course I only had two votes of it, which I was excited that I had 2 votes, just to be in, my name to be mentioned with those. But it is what it is. I've had my time to play, and life moves on. I'm married with my new beautiful wife, and my daughter's grown, and I'm just living life, just blessed to be here.
I remember talking to you probably last year or 2 years ago, and Brian Edwards was finishing up his career. Brian obviously ended his career as the leader in catches and receiving yards, but a lot of people still don't mention him because sometimes the teams he played on didn't have very good records. Did you ever talk to him during his college career, since you guys had kind of the same path where you had a really good year and yours was at the end, but in between there were kind of off seasons in terms of wins?
No, I've introduced myself and met him at a football game, but other than that, yeah, we didn't have too much conversation because he was trying to stay focused on the game, and that's what I was allowing him to do. So it wasn't too much. We shoot the breeze here and there, but it wasn't too much. Every time I'm down there, it was for them, for the game, just to support them.
Yeah. You mentioned the 10 touchdowns your freshman year in 97. That's still tied for, I think, 3rd on the single season touchdown list. What's the most memorable one you remember from that year?
The most were probably the first one, just scoring that touchdown. Just getting those jitterbugs out, just going out there and playing to say I've scored my first Division I touchdown. That was probably the most memorable against Central Florida. That definitely was. There's probably no other ones. The other ones just I was out there doing my job, and Anthony Wright was just throwing me the balls, which I still would still conversate with him here to this day, and he actually sends me some footage which I can't never find, but he finds it of games that we played. But I probably it would definitely be this first one, the Central Florida.
Right. Then in 2000, you got to be on the team that, you guys had gone winless the year before. You go 8-4 and win the Outback Bowl in 2000. How special was that for you, especially after going through 98 and 99?
That was really special. Those 2 seasons before that was awful. We didn't, as players, we didn't go anywhere. We were hiding from people. We were the laughing stock of the United States. It was bad. And our senior year, I can remember Cleve Pickney, Cecil Caldwell, and Andre Alfing, which were also co-captains with me. We had a team meeting and discussed, look, we have to win this year. We're the laughing stock of this whole college football thing here, and the players bought in, and Lou Holtz and Skip Holtz, they did a great job of just motivating us, energizing us to go out there and compete every day. And we didn't think it was going to be like it was, but we knew we were going to win some more ball games that year. But yeah, that was outstanding. We had a great season that year.
Obviously, Coach Holtz was known for engineering, turnarounds wherever he's been. Yet he's also known as the guy who really likes to run the football. So I'm sure you were excited when he came in 99. But as a receiver, did you also think, I don't know how my job's going to change day to day?
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that, because even when he was recruiting me at Notre Dame, that was honestly one of the reasons why I didn't go to Notre Dame, was because he was not throwing the ball. And of course, when he came to South Carolina, I kind of frowned upon it there and then he came in and I learned his philosophy, and we understood where he was coming from, and it took off from there. So, but I love Coach Holtz, especially his son. Everybody loves Skip Holtz, and I wish him nothing but the best of luck too.
Getting back to the Vanderbilt game this weekend, Jermale, looking at it, like I said, I think it's a game South Carolina should easily win. What do you see from it, and do you have a score prediction?
Again, I feel like we'll go in and win this game. Even if we played at Vanderbilt, I feel like we have a better chance winning it at home. And I feel like it'll be probably, I would say, a 10 to a 14-point game. I really feel like we're going to come out because we have something to prove, not only to our fans, but to themselves. They got to put a complete ball game together. Defense, I feel like, going to come out and play well, and I feel like the offense will come out and play well. And the special teams, I'm not even going to leave that out too. That's the most important thing. So when you have all three clicking at one time, I really feel like we're going to probably score about 28 points. And I think it's going to be about 28 to 13 or something like that.
That is one thing with special teams. Pro Football Focus this week has rated South Carolina's special teams coordinate, or special teams, #1 in the entire country. Just cannot question what Pete Limbo's doing over there with that unit. But
exactly,
I'm in agreement with you. I think I put in a 31-10 pick for USC for this week, and South Carolina's just got to go out there and do it and kind of get themselves back on track. And like I said before the season, these last 5 games, I was thinking, I don't know if Gamecocks will be favored in any of those. Now, situations has changed. I look at Missouri, Auburn, and Clemson, coincidentally, all the Tigers, and say, yeah, you could win those games. I mean, that's just how the game is. So we'll see how it goes tomorrow on Saturday. But I think that about wraps this up. I appreciate everybody joining in and subscribing to Gamecocks Now. We'll have this up on YouTube tomorrow. Jermale, I want to thank you again for joining me here. And, it's going to be an interesting game tomorrow for South Carolina to get back on the horse.
Thank you, and I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. We'll take it easy. And you guys just reach out to me at dcloninger@postedcourier.com if you have any questions. And remember, subscribe to Gamecocks Now. It's a 2-week free trial. For myself, for the Posted Courier, and for Jermale Kelly, one of South Carolina's greatest all-time receivers, we'll see you on the road. Y'all take care.
Appreciate it. Take care.